Hi guys, welcome back. So if you've been following me at all, you may know that I have been slowly but surely getting my metal studio set back up. So today I want to give you just a little update on where I'm at with the Flask saga and the VacuCast all-in-one situation. And then I realized as I was getting prepared to do a cast, I realized that I was doing some wax carving and I had not shared that at all with you guys, and I thought that might be something that maybe you would find interesting or helpful or something like that. I feel like some of the tools that I use are very like budget conscious or friendly if it's something that you are just getting into or like me getting back into. So I think some of the things that you may see on some of those sites out there are a little bit cost prohibitive. You go on Rio and you're like, oh, I want to buy one of those Touch-O-Matic kind of wax pens or something like that. And then you see the price and you go, maybe I'll learn this skill next year. So I have something that I think might help you guys with that. It's kind of a budget version of that. So we're gonna be bougie on a budget.
I think she said you were broke, boy.
And I'm gonna share, this is actually my favorite wax carving tool. And then I have some more traditional carving tools. I'll just share those with you guys. I think I talked about these a little bit before. But anyway, I want to take you into a better lit area before I spread all wax stuff out on the table and share that with you guys. I'm gonna share, I kind of made a dumb mistake and I kind of want to share it with you guys because even though it is very embarrassing that I didn't think about this, I feel like if I share it with you, then you won't make that mistake. So yeah. All right, so I'm gonna share my utter stupidity with you guys right now. Okay, so this is the flask that came with this, right? So let's put this in here. You see that's right. Okay, if you guys recall, my main issue is that this flask did not fit in the kiln. Okay, as you can see, that is a super tight fit, and I didn't like this because I said, you know, I don't feel like I have enough, I know it's upside down, but I feel like I don't have enough room to let the wax, or it's bothering me too. All right, it's bothering me too, guys. All right, I put that back in there. So you can see, I feel like I didn't have enough room to prop that up so that the wax had a little room at the bottom to burn out. So I said, in my infinite wisdom, I said, I know, I'll get a shorter one. Okay, so look, that looks fantastic in the kiln, right? Yay! Okay, so let's go back over here. So I said, okay, this is a problem. This doesn't fit in this over here. So I said, oh, I'll just buy an adapter. So I got an adapter, which would be this piece and this piece right here and a different gasket. Okay, so that's not cheap, but I was like, that's fine. I want to be able to cast like wider things. I like this, it's shorter, it's gonna be great in there. So what I didn't think through, total dum-dum here, is that it has to fit under this dome, right? This is like, this is so dumb, right? So, Look at this. Not even close. Do you see that? Not even close. So I felt pretty stupid. So I'm gonna end up probably having to return the flask and the bottom and the adapter, which honestly I ordered it and hadn't even come in yet. And I ended up just getting a shorter flask that is the same diameter. So here is the new one. This one I just ended up getting off of Amazon. So hopefully it's a decent quality. But as you can see, it is the same diameter as the old one, so I don't need an adapter for that one. It's the same diameter here. So this is gonna fit under the bell jar. Okay, so that fits, yay. And we fit in the kiln. All right, so crisis averted, but I made a stupid mistake and I wanted to share that with you guys just so you didn't repeat my stupidity. All right, so, you know, problem solved. This is significantly better. I feel like I can sleep at night. Let's go talk about wax tools. Okay, so hopefully this is easy for you to see. Everything's nice and bright. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is not in front of you, it is under all this stuff. And I actually have, this is just a little cafeteria style tray from IKEA. And I actually really like this because sometimes you just want to sit in front of the TV or scoot around and you'll just be kind of working on a piece. And this is great because it's lap sized and I can just put a little piece of wax paper in here. And then when I need to, I can take the wax paper off and then get all the little bits and bobs into like a cup or something like that. This is, it's had a rebrand, removable mounting putty. When I was in like elementary school, I remember having teachers put posters and stuff up with this and they always called it ticky tack. But it is sticky enough, but still removable. As you can see, I'll take a little, I had a little piece here. And it's just kind of like putty. And sometimes I'll stick it on here. I've seen other people do this. If I remember who, I'll link to their channel or something. But for example, this is a, if you can see it, a pretty mosaic opal here. And I would put this face down and then I could build the wax on top of this and it would give me a good base to get started working with whatever my design was for that. Or you could maybe get a little piece and put it straight on the paper and then work that way. It's kind of just whatever feels better to you in that way. Next up, I have all these tools. I mentioned this in the last video, and these are wax carving tools. This whole set was, I believe, about 20 bucks, but as you can see, they have a lot of really great tips, but they really vary, these tips. Even this one, for example, has where you can maybe scoop a little bit out. So these are really handy, especially when you're working with maybe a slightly larger piece that has a little more like meat to it and you can really scrape some out. So I really like these. Another thing over here that you're gonna wanna use is an X-Acto knife. I think these are fantastic, really for cleaning stuff up and getting in little spaces, and especially if you're going to use the build-up method with your wax where you keep kind of painting on really thin layers of wax until you have like something more substantial that you can work around, and then you can kind of cut things out. But an X-Acto knife is amazing, especially when it's nice and sharp. Okay, so this here is a wax file. This is used specifically for wax. One side is flat and one side is curved, which is really good for getting inside like a ring shape or something like that. And one thing that I have learned from experience is that you really want your wax piece to be as finished as possible, because whatever you put in is what you're gonna get out. So if you, here's just a little scrap that I have. If you were to leave this wax like this, then all of this would show up in whatever material you're casting in. So you're gonna wanna file that down and try to get it as smooth as possible. And in that same vein, I've seen other people do this too, where you take a lighter and you don't wanna get it too close, but you can actually turn it on and you can smooth it out just a little bit, just to kind of get, like, you see how that, I don't know if you guys can see that, it kind of smoothed out the edge a little bit. You don't want to get it too close because you will melt it, but that's a nice tip, especially if you have a piece that's stuck on like ticky tack, it's away from your fingers. That's one to be careful with, but that is kind of a cool little tip. This is another one. So this goes inside. So when you're making your ringlets, there you go, you can see the hole. You would put this inside of there so that you can scrape out the interior and get rid of any excess, and then you can slide it onto your mandrel and keep checking your size. So that is what this is used for. It's very handy. This is a good one I like. It is heavy and made of metal and will scrape out the inside. There are a lot of different ones. I've seen some made with wood, I've seen some made of plastic, but I like this because it's a little bit more substantial. But again, all this is gonna do is it's gonna reduce the interior. I'll show you guys just a little bit how it works. Oops, nobody saw that. So as you can see, putting this here and I am scraping out the interior. And I just did a little bit for example, but if you can see, I was able to take out some of the interior circle here with this. So this is going to be really helpful, especially if you want to do different rings this is going to be something you're going to want to take a look at. And of course, I will put a link to anything I remember to put a link to down in the description. So the other thing you're probably going to want to have is a ring mandrel. And just in general, I like to use this. I'll put some tape on it and then I will build up the wax. This is just something I was kind of playing with earlier. You can see I melted some of this with some of my other tools over here, and then I just kept building up and building up until I had something a little bit more substantial. And then I kind of cut off what I didn't want with the X-Acto knife, and then I was able to get kind of a shape. So that's a work in progress, but I just wanted to leave that there as a little bit of an example for you guys. And I marked off the size that I wanted on the mandrel, and that's where I chose to start building up the work. So, and you guys will hopefully see that later. I keep a couple of drill bits around. These are just really little ones. This one's a little bit fatter, but this is a super tiny one. And what I will do is I will use this to drill out where I'm gonna put a hole. So if you can see that. Hopefully you can see. I'm filming with my GoPro, and this is maybe not the best at tiny things, but yeah, so hopefully you can see that, but that helps. I'll put a hole in there, or I will also I'll use this to poke a little hole in the back, because I'm not going to cast this mosaic opal in place because it is not hard enough to withstand the casting process. So I have a little hole in here, and I will just poke that right out. It makes it so that I can keep kind of testing to see if that fits in there right. And also when I am, let's say that this is cast in silver, it's going to help me to be able to finish this off, put it in, and check and see if this is like how I want it before I actually try to set that in place. So this is very helpful. Now we're going to get into hot stuff. So take the cap off of this guy. So this is a Thread Zap 2 by the Beadsmith. This might be old, who knows, maybe they're on Thread Zap 25 by now, but I bought this several years ago, and I don't use it for thread. As you can see, I use this to melt wax. This is kind of my little portable thing I go around with if I'm going to sit in front of the TV in the living room or something like that. And the battery in here might be kind of dead, but it takes one AA battery. Let's see if it's good enough. And if the battery is good, then you should be able to see, you can see a little smoke wisp from it. And now you know it is ready to go. And as you can see, it does really well melting this Ferris wax. I'll do this as an example. You can hook some of this Ferris wax in when it's nice and hot, and you can start to do a little buildup here. This would go faster, I think, if my battery was a little fresher. But, and I can tell that my battery is dying because it is not, I'm getting these little wispies, so it's not as hot as it could be. But with a fresh battery in here, this would be amazing. This is a great little tool. Now, I will tell you the negative of this. The drawback of this is that it really can eat through AA batteries. So I like using this for maybe smoothing certain things out. I actually kind of like it when it's a little dead on the battery, because sometimes I'm just trying to maybe melt the wax just a little bit, and maybe I want to just move the stone. It kind of softens it a little bit if the battery is not fully charged, and that I kind of like. But this is pretty cool, and this is a handy little tool, not too expensive. This is just a cheap soldering iron, right? This is probably the cheapest soldering iron you're going to find on planet Earth. It is very old and grody, and I don't even remember where I got it from. The tip looks amazing because my amazing husband said, wow, the tip of that looks disgusting, and he polished it up for me so it was nice and fresh. But even though this is just a cheap soldering iron, even I think it's maybe $12.99 or so at Harbor Freight, you can switch the tips of this. So they make kits now that come with lots of different tips, and they're very inexpensive. And oh, I'm tangled up here. One of the coolest things about this is the way that I use it. So I'll get to that in 1 second. Before I push this off to the side, I will also tell you it's good to have a little bowl of your scraps or something nearby. And this is actually a bowl that I made when I was practicing raising copper, which is super fun and a great way to work out aggression. But I like to keep little scraps in here, especially because you can melt and kind of reuse the wax. It's very efficient and eco-friendly that way. But this is a great place for your little scraps. So I'm going to scoot some of this over, and then I'm going to show you how I actually use this soldering iron. You're probably like, Lauren, what is that monstrosity? And it seems like a big chunk monster, but this is super helpful. So you might have seen where there are some soldering irons out there where you're able to control the temperature, but I've seen a few that are a little bit pricey. So this we actually built several years ago, back when I was in school. We had like a little weekend workshop for my metalsmith class, and so I can't take credit for the overall genius of this. But basically this is just built with things from the electrical section of the hardware store, and it is really just a electrical box with a dimmer switch in it. And we marked, it's probably all old now, but where it says off here, if you can see, we just marked where the little click is here with a little nail polish, and so I can hear that positive clicking. And this, you probably can't see it because it's dimmed a little bit, and I have a extra light in here for you to see. But this is just basically, if I can get it out, it's a little night light. Oh, darn tamper resistant plugs. All right, so basically you click it on. This will let me know when it's on, just as like a little bit of a warning. But this dimmer switch, when I plug my soldering iron into it, it basically allows me to control how hot my soldering iron gets, which is awesome. And this is basically the poor man's version of one of those fancy RB machines or anything like that. Now, I know those are great, and those do a lot more than probably my dimmer switch and super cheap soldering iron do, but I think if you're just starting out, this is actually kind of cool. Let me know down below if you're curious in actually knowing how this was put together. I might pop it open and show you guys how I built it. Maybe I will consider doing a video where I just talk about how to build this. But it has a little cord down here. I just plug it into the wall, and then I plug my soldering iron in here. And you guys can splurge and get the $20 soldering iron if you want, but all I have to do is turn this on. It takes a few minutes to heat up, but once this is hot, all I have to do is dip on in, and then I can use this to do the build-up method to make stuff. That is pretty much how that works. Oh, so one other thing I forgot, I actually recently got some of these in my Rio order. These are wax saw blades for my jeweler saw. These look a little bit different. They're not just your regular kind of half of a Christmas tree saw blades. These are actually spiral, so that when they go through the wax, they're spiraling through it versus trying to saw. If you've ever made the mistake of using a regular jeweler saw blade and wax like I have, you know, it's a whole thing. So I want to talk also a little bit while we're here in a well-lit area about the wax that I have and how I'm going to use that to build the trees. First up is I just got another chunk. This is just this Ferris blue wax. This is basically just this. I had some of this left over from a different project, and it was in my metals hoard. So I just got a fresh block of this, and this blue wax is basically the same blue wax that I use to make little molds that I'm gonna cast. So big chunk of this. It wasn't expensive, and this is gonna last me a good long time. This was maybe like 10 bucks. This, oh my gosh, does it fit? That's fantastic. This is Ferris Sprue wax, and this is a 3/8 inch diameter. And I'm gonna melt this in here, and this is gonna be basically, if you picture a tree, this is the middle of the tree, and I'm gonna put little branches of designs on the tree in order to cast. And let me grab, oh, actually I have some scrap wax over here, some scrap Sprue wax. So basically all I'm gonna do, let's see, can I rest this on here? You guys can kind of, you can see that, you can see it. All right. So that's the middle of the tree, and then this is the wax that I'm going to put. These are my little branches right here. And then when I want to cast, I'm going to attach all the things I want to cast. This is a little bit long. I'd probably make that shorter. but when this is attached to there, then I'm going to attach this here. So everything I want, so it'll actually look like a little fun tree of designs when I'm done. And then of course I already showed you guys this, and this is basically the same wax as this blue wax, only it is already, this has a hole in it, so it's kind of, all I have to do is take one of my little saw blades, put it in my jeweler's saw, then I can just cut a piece to the thickness of ring that I want, and then I can kind of go from there. But this is basically this, just in kind of pre-made ring tube form. All right, so I hope that this video was helpful for you. As always, if you have any questions, leave it down in the comments and I will do my best to get back to you in a timely fashion. I will do my best to list anything that I have talked about in the video today down below, and let me know if you're interested in a video. Maybe I can, it's been a minute since I built this, but if you're actually interested, maybe I'll pop it open and remind myself. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on how to build one of these, and let me know what you guys are interested in seeing. But beyond that, I'm going to keep working on my sprue trees and get ready to do my first cast coming up. Very excited about that. My plan is to do my first cast, I'm just going to do a regular just sprue tree, no stones or anything like that, and quench it and then pull all that stuff out, just normal regular cast. The second cast, I have some like little bullet cabochons, some garnet lab grown bullet cabochons, and I have a couple pink sapphire cabochons I really found, and I found them in my hoard and I'm very excited. I want to try to do some cast in place. And then I'm really excited, if you guys watched that 3D printing video I did a while back, I have some things that I want to 3D print and then try to do a cast with just regular PLA first. I want to see how I can do that. So you guys hopefully will be along for the experimental ride with that. But beyond that, I have a lot of exciting stuff happening and I hope that you guys keep watching. So I will see you soon. Until next time, guys, go forth, be kind, be creative.